It's the Rumour Mill. This is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, The Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, The Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just $5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video. Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds. This is the Rumour Mill. What's going on, everybody? Let me know in the comment section below. Listen, I have to apologise. I'm not really apologising. It's probably bad to apologise, but I'm going to communicate with you a little bit why I weren't on last night. You know, it was a bit hectic last night, a bit hectic yesterday. Goodness me, after the 5 things, it all got a bit dicey. And for those people who don't like hearing about my life, don't like hearing about the communication me and the One Leaders have, you will have the timestamps if you just want to hear the news. Sometimes I get a few of the ones who don't like me talking about anything else but Leeds United news. I'd skip this part, people, if you can see the timestamps. But yeah, weren't able to do the hard line last night, unfortunately. I probably shouldn't be doing this, to be honest with you. In fact, I definitely shouldn't be doing this. But yesterday, I was playing football for my Sunday League team, of which, by the way, everybody, first game, I got Dick of the Day. My first ever game for them, I got Dick of the Day for some verbals at the referee and a bad tackle. But look at that, everyone. Man of the match. You know what I mean? Man of the match. So it was all worth it. Man of the match yesterday. Didn't win the game, but man of the match still. But yesterday, unfortunately, and we've got a subscriber who plays for the plays for the team now as well. Shout out to Will, which is great. He had a good performance yesterday, Will. I've taken him under my wing. He's a big Leeds fan. He's a subscriber to the channel, so that's great as well. But yeah, yesterday, basically, the first one was horrendous. Some absolute unit, basically, was speeding in from the wing. I got in his way and I tensed up to try get physical with him. I didn't fall down, but my God, he hit me like a steam train. Absolutely hit me like a steam train. So I'm pretty sure I've got some sort of whiplash all the way up my neck. And then the ball hit the back of my head. And guys, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you guys have ever had this. I've never had this before. I crouched down and it went black for at least 2 seconds. 2 seconds, I went like that. And my God, I was somewhere else. And for 10 minutes, I felt drunk. So something was definitely happening that wasn't normal. I was then told I had mild concussion afterwards. So, but the Rumour Mill is still here, isn't it? We have to complete the Rumour Mill. This has to happen every morning. So, yeah, apologies, you guys, for... Yeah, last night I wasn't able to look at lights and all that sort of stuff, so I wouldn't have been able to properly focus as well. I was zoning in, I was zoning out. So, yeah, apologies for the lack of content, the lack of hardline. We might do it tonight. This might be a little bit of a struggle for me, though, but I will get through it as much as possible. We've got some good bits to touch on this morning, and I want to get your guys' input on it as well. So bear with me if I'm mumbling a little bit. You know why? I think I said something out a couple of things out of order to the missus last night as well, of which she was like, Conor, that's not happened. I'm not sure that's happened. So yeah, if I'm mumbling a little bit, you know why at least. True Brexit dedication right there. That's right, Chaz. That's right, mate. That's right, mate. Always. Right, okay. Didn't you get sent off last week? No, mate. I got sin binned last week. Different things about apparently the sin bin now in Sunday League football. Utter woke nonsense. But good to see a lot of you in the building this morning. Let's have a look. Morning, Conor. I have a disability and autism, and yay, finally caught you all live. I love you, mate. Keep up the great work. Best content creator out there. Good to see you, Stephen. Good to see you out there, mate. Thank you for your comment. Lovely to see new people here as well. Great win for Europe last night. Oh, mate, it was great to see Rory giving it, wasn't it? Absolutely love it. What were they doing? We're from New York. This is what you deal with when you come to New York. Have some of that. Up the Europe. Get in. Right, okay, let's have a look. Jimmy says, how you feel? I'm all right, mate. I'm a little bit beat up, I'll be honest with you. My neck's hurting, my head's a little bit fuzzy. So I'm sort of, you're going to have to help me through this. Hi, Conor. I come on every live stream. Don't normally mention my team as I respect it's a Leeds shout, but I'm happy to talk about Leeds. But just once, what were your thoughts on Sunderland's win and the league? I thought you had Sunderland win the league. We'll get onto that in a bit, mate. You're a true lad, Conor. Much love to you and all the One Leeds community here for the Triple D. If you know, you know, you know, mate. You know. Good lad. Conor, mate, life gets in the way. It does, mate. It does. Right, let's get into it, shall we, everybody? Let's get into the news beat. Right, okay, so Gustavo Prado. Have you ever heard that name? Now, we couldn't actually get his profile on our data provider because he's that sort of unknown. He's an international winger playing in Brazilian Serie A at this moment in time. And over the weekend, Leeds United have been linked to him. And his release clause is 52 million quid, or €1 million. But apparently Leeds United can get him for around about 17 million quid in January with a little bit of a stipulation in his contract. And apparently Leeds United are looking at the South American market, according to this specific report that is live this morning. Revista Colorado are saying that Leeds United are set to take a very different approach in January and approach the Brazilian side for Gustavo Prado. The report suggests that Farca's side have ramped up their scouting network, as we've just mentioned, in South America, which I think is really important. Africa as well. Getting your scouting network in Africa and South America absolutely on point is something that I think every club should be absolutely nigh on. It should be one of the biggest priorities because the athleticism, the physicality, the pace of these players, the development out there is just superb. There's been so many gems that have come out there. It's believed apparently that there are a number of clubs after the 20-year-old and the monitoring for the January window as well. And this is what I've just mentioned previously. According to this report, despite having a release clause of €52 million in his deal, Prado could be supposedly available for just 17 million in the winter window. And apparently Daniel Farca's a big fan. There you go. Prado is currently away on international duty with the Brazilian under-20s at the World Cup in Chile, where Leeds will be keeping close tabs on his performances with scouts out there. Prado is yet to fully establish himself as a first-team player in South America, so it would be a surprise. Now, I look at this and I think to myself, stinks of, do you guys not think an agent? It just stinks of an agent just using Leeds in the sort of story. And yeah, I just don't believe this whatsoever. It makes no sense. Now, what I love is the fact that Leeds United might be establishing themselves in South America, because we've evidently not got like any sort of scouting network down there. Or we might have, but it might just be, you might have one scout in South America or maybe two scouts in South America. I'd love to know a little bit more behind that, to be honest with you. Maybe I can interview someone about that Leeds' scouting network, and we can see where we've actually got scouts. It'd be so interesting, because I think there's definitely certain parts of the world of which there are gold mines. Asia at this moment in time, there is such a gold mine. You've seen that with Celtic, where they've been able to be so profitable from really scouting in that region. But I think Africa and South America's always been huge, obviously. But, we've seen some really good moves this window for some South American players as well. And I think Leeds United in that market, it needs to be something that we need to be looking at 100%. But yeah, scouting networks would be interesting to see how many scouts we have in certain regions, I'd say. Brighton have had so many good deals from South America, 100%, mate. It's been ridiculous for Brighton, hasn't it? One of my favorite opinions, one of my favorites, 100%. Settle down. We aren't anywhere near staying up. We are still odds on to go down, so let's stay grounded and not get. Was anybody getting carried away, Dara? Was anybody getting carried away? I don't think we have, mate. I think everybody's pretty chilled out this morning. And Niall says, "Morning, pal. Hope you well." Indeed, mate. Indeed, I'm very, very good. Morning, Conor. Hello. Bielsa criminally underutilized the South American market, knowing the influence he had on the club's game. Let's hope they get Farke a 10, a striker, and a winger or two. Yeah, I think it's absolutely imperative that Leeds do stuff in the window still. I think it will be very naive for the Whites not to do anything as well. I keep saying this, but you look at other clubs in the Premier League and you look at the striker options, and I still think with Leeds, we're a long way off. But we're going to get into some statistics which might encourage you guys a little bit, especially some of the naysayers. But if we are a Dominic Calvert-Lewin injury away from a lot of trouble, I believe. You're kind of looking at a scenario where if DCL goes down, Mecha comes in, and Mecha, I think, look decent, but I think Mecha is not as much of the full package as what DCL is. I think DCL has shown that he's not the full package with his finishing, but he's nearer to that than what Lucas Mecha is. And I just don't see Joel Peru getting a chance whatsoever, no matter how many people want Peru to still be starting in the Premier League, which I still find bizarre, starting or sort of like really having some sort of impact. I think going from Joel Peru to Dominic Calvert-Lewin is such a breath of fresh air at this moment in time. And I think it's really facilitating how Leeds play. A lot of people were saying at the weekend, they were saying, Conor, his job is to score goals. I've mentioned this on the 5 things. Of course, that's his job. His job is to score goals as well. But I think it's more important to facilitate Leeds' style of play, of which we need to be getting out. We need to be getting out from a mid to low block if we are under pressure. And I think we've seen already how important DCL is in that. Harry says, congratulations with the 50K. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate that. Yeah, we hit 50K over the weekend. Now, this one, I got my motor running, head out on the highway. I would absolutely be, well, would I be gassed? I think I would be. I mean, I'd have been more gassed with this 3 or 4 years ago. But you guys know how much Rome means to me. My team is Lazio. This guy was a massive problem in the derby this season. But apparently, according to sources very, very close to Roma, AS Roma in particular, have suggested today that Leeds United are one of the primary clubs in January that are going to make a move for Lorenzo Pellegrini. Now, if you guys don't know, since Gasperini has gone in at Roma, Pellegrini has been quite in and out, and Gasperini has a very, very specific style of play, and I'm not sure he's quite getting on with Gasperini at this moment in time. So much so, as I heard this about 2 days ago, and I thought, come on, it's got to be a little bit of clickbait. And it could still be that, and an agent forcing a bit of a move here or forcing a little bit of discussion. But his contract does end in the summer, and Gasperini just doesn't want him. He doesn't want him. And sources very, very close to the Serie A giants are now suggesting that there is going to be a January move, and obviously it is going to be a cut price with his deal running out in 2026. He started 2 matches so far for Roma in the top flight in the 25-26 season, scoring the winner against Lazio in the Rome derby. Pellegrini has been a regular appearance maker for his country as well. Forming part of that Italian squad that ripped up our hearts in 2021. But yeah, according to AS Roma Live, Pellegrini could be heading towards a switch to the Premier League during the January window. The report claims that newly promoted Leeds United are looking to secure the services of the 29-year-old for the second half of the season. Pellegrini's existing terms at Stadio Olimpico expire at the end of the campaign, and Roma have no plans to offer the player an extension. Now, this would kind of fit into our centre attacking midfield plans unbelievably well. He's so versatile as well. He's so good at set pieces. And it'll take you a penalty. 100%. He'll be on all corners, all free kicks. Technically, he's gifted. Really, really gifted. The market value, according to Transfermarkt, is around about 9 million euros, I think it is. I think we'd have to pay a little bit more for that. His age, he's at 29. But you look at an impact player that maybe Sunderland have brought in recently this season in terms of a player who really takes care of himself, but he's still playing at the top of his game in Granit Xhaka at 32. Someone like Lorenzo Pellegrini, I think you're seeing midfield players in particular getting older and older and taking care of themselves so well. Jordan Henderson in the Premier League been another one. James Milner been another one, taking care of themselves to an older age, an elderly age when it comes to when it comes to Premier League players. You know, players coming in now at 17. What's with Rio at Liverpool coming in at 16? It's ridiculous. So Pellegrini would be classed as an elder statesman in the Premier League. But I'd absolutely be all over it at a cut price as well. I'd be all over that. Great option. Someone who, if you were to offer me someone like Pellegrini or Harry Wilson, he would be someone who I'd be maybe it's for me, it's probably a little bit of nostalgia with him. But yeah, I didn't realize that this would be an option, but this seems to be ramping up. This seems to be not to Leeds, but it seems to be ramping up. Pellegrini leaving in January. Now, something to consider might be the wages. His wage structure is probably one of the top earners right now at Roma, which basically means, obviously, is he going to take a cut price to come to Leeds United? I doubt it, because we can offer more money because we are a Premier League club. But this will be a lovely, lovely, lovely addition. If you guys have watched Pellegrini before, and then let us know in the comment section below if you take him. Marco says, had a really good link-up play with Nonto when Nonto made his international debut. You're not the first person to tell me that as well, mate. Get Italian football news. Also, I had a bit of a chat with the lads there about that, and they all said him and Nonto had a very good relationship. I think wages would be an issue with Pellegrini. Apparently, West Ham offered 77k a week, and it was turned down. Let's say we're 9th come January. Who knows? The project could be really exciting. Don't see where he fits into the team. I think he would. I think he'd fit into the team he can play all the way down the spine, can't he? If we're talking about Pellegrini, he can fit all the way down the spine. He can be defensive midfield. I wouldn't want him to be a defensive midfielder, but I think in his career, he's naturally going to drop back anyway because he's got such a wand. I think if he drops deep, he can be a deep line playmaker, can play in that central role as well. I think he's fit. I think he could be box to box if you encouraged him. But also in that attacking midfield role, he's just got the guile. He's got the guile to fit in there. So for Leeds in a 4-2-3-1, I think he 100% works. 100% works. And it depends really, doesn't it? It depends if you can move a Gruev on, if you can move, and you almost free up a midfield position there. If you can move a Gruev on, if you can then move a Melee on, you make a bit of PSR wiggle room and you bring in someone like a Pellegrini. I would personally be looking at a striker again. I'd be looking at moving on Peru and bringing in a striker. That would be my primary position because I'm really, really worrying about DCL getting injured. DCL's not completed. I think it's more than 20 games in 6 seasons. I think if he goes down, and how important he's been to Leeds, in particular over the last 2 games, I'd be really worried, if I'm honest with you. Do you see a potential exit for Peru in January, says Tommy Hansen? No, but Leeds should be moving for that. They should be moving for that. And look, I've said this plenty of times, and people get really upset, which I'm quite surprised at, to be honest with you. I think when a player's stock is high, I'll keep mentioning this, and this is where I can be quite cold with it. I support Leeds United Football Club. I'm not here supporting Joel Peru FC, okay? And for me, if Leeds United can get the most amount of money right now for Joel Peru in the January window, and then we can go and put that into another couple of players that are going to enhance our chance of staying up. No, we'll stick with Peru. He's got 19 goals in the championship, and he might be an impact off the bench. Might be. Not for me. I want guarantees. I want absolute guarantees in the Premier League, and that's a ruthless way of doing it. So I would personally be looking at suitors for Peru in January. Yeah, especially if he's not going to get minutes and Metra is the second striker. Peru's a different profile, but he's not the right profile for a Premier League side, in my opinion. As Zian Fleming isn't a right profile, in my opinion, or Lyle Foster in the Premier League. They're not right profiles for newly promoted sides. Coming up to the Premier League and being able to be a success in the Premier League, in my opinion. So yeah. Matt Hopkinson says, I hope you're okay, Connor. I'm going back to start. Shout out to you, Matt. A GB model student says, we can't afford Harry Wilson on 12 mil, but we now go splurge millions in January. Well, no, there'd have to be movement, mate. There'd have to be movement. Leeds then says, what's the midfield 3 you'd pick if Pellegrini comes in? Oh, man. Grafter as well as Pellegrini, so I don't think we'd lose that much in there. Midfield 3 with Pellegrini, I'd have him there instead of Longstaff. So I'd be having Stack, Pellegrini, and Purdue, probably. Dependent on the game, though. But that's a very good midfield. Very good midfield. Nice balance in there as well. Let's have a look at some more bits, shall we, everybody? Let's move on to the next bit today that I want to natter about. Now, in the same report as well, the same report that we were just speaking about, AS Roma was also suggesting about Petr Zielinski. Now, I've not heard this name in a while. And Zielinski, you guys might remember, was at Napoli, made the switch to Inter. It's not quite worked for him at Inter Milan. I don't really see this one as a viable one whatsoever. And look, he's 31. Okay, he's 31. I see Zielinski as a little bit more of a defensive player. I think we've kind of got that covered. He reminds me of a little bit of a hybrid between Ampadu and Tanaka. I don't really see this as a Champions League experience, unbelievable player. I think, not unbelievable player, but for Serie A level, one of the top midfielders in Serie A for, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 seasons. He was unbelievable for Napoli. But I'm not 100% sure in terms of that defensive midfield player, central midfield. I think real coverer, ground coverer. I always talk about perception in the midfield as well. I think he's always been excellent at that, hence getting the move to Inter, obviously. I just don't see this one as a viable one. It's not one that would excite me. It's a little bit more of the central defensive midfielder profile type, archetype. I'm not really sold on that. I think we need someone, if we are to go in and get a midfielder who's a little bit more technically efficient and is better in the attacking half of the pitch. That's what I want. I think we've got the defensive side of it covered. If you were to keep Gruev, Ampadu, Tanaka, I think from a defensive perspective is good. Longstaff from a defensive perspective is good. Stack naturally is a 6. So yeah, I kind of want someone of the number 8, advanced 8, number 10 role for me personally. So as well as the Italian, this report said that he said Leeds are also eyeing up a move for Inter Milan midfielder Petr Zielinski, who was played 3 times in Serie A this season. Zielinski has struggled since swapping Napoli for Inter in the summer of 24 last season, and he managed just 2 goals and 3 assists in 39 games. So apparently he is looking at making a move as well. Okay, let's move on as well to the next rumor on the mill, everybody. What's going on today? This man, I thought this would be just something that might cheer you guys up. It's good for maybe a Monday morning. Igor Paixao, he's back again. Okay, former Liverpool star Bruno Cheyrou. Do you guys remember Bruno Cheyrou? Formerly of Marseille, formerly a left winger. Great, had a lovely left sort of peg on him. But yeah, that was of a very weird stage for Liverpool, Bruno Cheyrou. Anyway, he was quoted by Foot as saying that under Roberto De Zerbi, Paixao may find the lack of freedom he has at Marseille could prevent him from replicating his Feyenoord form. He was more decisive and confident at Feyenoord. I don't know what freedoms the coach gave him, but he now has to work with De Zerbi's very fixed ideas. We saw him play on the right over Greenwood. This is so interesting because I think we know with Daniel Farke that there is almost like a really fixed methodology and a really fixed way of playing for Farke. I think you've seen some players thrive under it. We know before Farke criticised Jorginho Rutter for maybe being a little bit over exuberant with his trickery, of which I personally didn't like. He's spoken as well before in post-match press conferences about long balls that Tanaka was making, of which he didn't quite like, and he was speaking about it, and I'm paraphrasing here, but when he was speaking about it in the post-match press conference last year, he was suggesting that maybe he wants Tanaka to keep it ticking over a little bit more. He's spoken about Ramazani losing the ball in critical areas. So I think when we're talking about a fixed way of playing, it's quite interesting. I'm not for one comparing De Zerbi to Daniel Farke, but Daniel Farke does have a very fixed way of playing. He called out Noah Okafor the other day, didn't he, after the Wolves game, keeping hold of the ball in key areas. And we saw for the first goal that Wolves scored, Okafor was the player who lost the ball, even though he got an absolute hospital pass by Pascal Strout there. But he lost the ball, didn't he? And you just know with Daniel Farke that there is a very fixed way of playing, especially for his wingers. So it would have been interesting with Igor Paixao, because we're mentioning in the rumor mill in the summer window about how he is a little bit of a maverick, cuts in off the left, probably a little bit more of a luxury player. His defensive numbers were good, but he gives you way more going forward. So you probably kind of want to isolate him up there. Very similar characteristics in terms of positioning to what Noah Okafor is, but obviously, Paixao is a level up in my opinion, but he is struggling out there. And there's been a few criticisms. I was having a look at his match ratings; they've not been good. But it's fascinating actually that I found that when they came to speaking about De Zerbi and the style of play and how he plays, and maybe that freedom not being maybe encouraged by De Zerbi. I did feel that a little bit when Ramazani was featuring for Leeds United. There was maybe a lack of freedom being sort of, promoted. And he mentioned it with Rutter, didn't he? When Rutter was there about the skill and Tanaka in terms of the long range passing. Don't do that. Want you to keep it ticking over. That's going to keep the rhythm. So yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if it would have worked with Igor Paixao at Leeds United. I'm sure it would have done it. It'd have been an unbelievable signing. This isn't copium. I'd have loved him at Leeds United. But in terms of the playing style, maybe it wouldn't have been as smooth as we maybe all once thought. See what you guys are saying on that one. And let's see how many of you guys are in the chat as well. Let's slap a like on the video, everybody. It is Monday morning. We've got over 500 of you on the chat this morning, or just in the building. Make sure you slap a like on the video. Really appreciate that. How quickly do our expectations go wild? I think our game management has lost 3 points, 2 on Saturday and 1 against Fulham. We should be 6th. David, it's not expectations though, is it, mate? I think you've got to be careful here, David, because what you're doing is, in my opinion, so Leeds have gone up against Fulham, and I understand your frustrations, mate, but we've gone up against Fulham, we've gone up against Bournemouth. Who's to say Leeds United should have a divine right to get the points that you are expecting us to get out of those games against those sides? Because those sides both have better substitutes than us, arguably have a better manager than us, and have a better starting 11 than us. So that's kind of where sometimes I think you've got to take a little bit of a step back, especially with the caliber of team we're up against in the Premier League. And I agree with you. When you're in the 93rd minute and the 94th minute, respectively, you should be getting those points 100%. And Sunderland have shown us that, haven't they? They've shown us that. Bear in mind, we are only 3 points behind Sunderland, but they've shown us that. Been able to see out games against Crystal Palace, been able to see out games against Nottingham Forest. So 100%, I get what you're saying there, David. But I would also throw it back to you and say there is no divine right for Leeds United to be beating Fulham. There is no divine right for Leeds United to be beating Bournemouth. Bournemouth are one of the best sides in the country right now. They're one of the best sides in the country. And for the majority of that game, we outplayed them, in my opinion. Or at least created better cutting-edge chances. I can remember way more of our chances than Bournemouth's chances. The structure was very good. The framework was very good. So when Bournemouth bring on 5 substitutes, and start increasing that flow, increasing that tempo, that's where you've got to take a step back a little bit. We all know Farke he should be better with his substitutes at points. I think Tanaka should have come on at half-time. But the key point here is there is no divine right for a newly promoted side to be able to get all 3 points against Bournemouth, who had beaten Wolves, had beaten Brighton, had beaten Spurs in the first, I think, 3 out of 4 games they'd won, and were one of the most informed teams in Europe coming to Elland Road at the weekend, with pretty much a fully fit side as well, with Christie coming back, and the back line was fully there as well, wasn't it? So yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I can see there's David as well. You said I don't think we should be playing so deep at the end of games. I think that comes down to a lot of things, to be honest with you. But I do agree with you. I think Tanaka should have been brought on to control the game a little bit. Tanaka coming on the right was bizarre, and they started getting a lot more freedom on that left-hand side when Tanaka came on, because he's not a right winger. So that was, in my opinion, a daft decision from Farke. But we can't always then turn around and say about Farke that, he got this wrong, he got that wrong, he got this wrong, he got that wrong. I guarantee if I'd have said to any of you at the beginning of the season, with the difficulty of our fixtures, that we were going to get 8 points out of 6, you'd have gone, nah, we're going to draw to Newcastle at home. I'd have gone, no way. We're not drawing to Newcastle at home. We're not beating Everton at home. Not that new Everton side. There's no way we're getting a point against Bournemouth with how good Bournemouth are. How fluid they are. How Iriola was talking at the weekend about how physical Leeds were, and how good Leeds were in that game. I've not heard him talk about, and I watch a lot of Match of the Day, and Bournemouth have been obviously on every highlight package. He's not come out. I think we've seen Iriola on 2, maybe 3 post-match interviews. I don't think he's complimented another team like he was complimenting Leeds at the weekend. So you've got to take that as a positive, I think, at the weekend. I really do. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. I understand. But do you know what as well, David, as well? And I know there's a lot of fans thinking the same thing as well, mate. But I don't think we should be too deep. But at the same time, you've got to balance that up with individual errors. Gabby Goodmanson, that is just that's a freak at Fulham. It's an absolute freak. Farke can't control that. I didn't agree with his subs and how we dropped deep, but he can't control that. That's unbelievable. Carl Darler was outrageously good in that game towards the back end as well. Then you bring Kevin on. Traore on. It pushes Leeds back a little bit. And then at the weekend, Ampadu decides to make a real bozo imprint on defending a set piece and decides to go back and use his own. He didn't follow any sort of line and decides to go all the way back into the Leeds box, keeping all of the Bournemouth players on side when Leeds' line was higher. Ampadu decided to go on an individual defensive mission, probably taking the captaincy to another level. An individual defensive mission I felt wasn't very disciplined on that set piece and kept them all on side. That's difficult for Farke to control. So see why there's a grey area here, mate. There is a grey area here because they're just stupid individual errors at the end of the Fulham game and the end of the Bournemouth game. It's, it is what it is. Leeds Len says, we've got to be more composed on the ball in late stages of game rather than the rash jumps we're doing. Don't think the low block as such is the issue. Just look at Brentford's third goal. We actually created chances, but we were good at the weekend. It was very surprising to me how good we were at the weekend. Very surprising. I said on my second channel we'd lose 3-1 at the weekend. I thought we'd lose 3-1. Callum said to me as well we'd lose 2-0. I thought we'd lose at the weekend. Every pundit really was predicting Leeds lost that game. So, that's kind of how I'm trying to grip onto the positives there, because and we'll get into a couple of good stats at the end that might make you guys maybe a little bit more encouraged. Okay, so I wanted to talk as well at the end. Well, I wanted to talk here anyway about this is a bit of a later segment that I wanted to do on the channel. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below as well. Just make sure you're slapping a like as well on the video. So this is something that a lot of you guys were mentioning to me. Oh, hold on. I've gone off screen now. But you guys were mentioning to me not long ago. We've spoken about this, and I just included a little bit of the top rationale here, just so you guys can have a little bit of a look at it as well. And this is over the first 10 games, how many teams have survived over, if they get 11 points plus whatever. So the two survivors, despite poor starts, were Bournemouth in 2015-16, 8 points after 10 games, and Nottingham Forest in 22-23, 5 points after 10 games, which is unbelievable, by the way. Every promoted side in the last 10 seasons with 11 points or more has survived, aside from those two outliers. So here are the stats right here. Survival rate there. There's 100% survival rate there with 11 plus points. 12 teams, 12 have survived. 8 to 10 points, 5 teams, 1 survived, 4 relegated. So there you go. It's just a point difference between 10 and 11 and plus. 0 and 7, 13 teams, 1 survived, 12 relegated. So, if you get anything 7 and below, you're relegated essentially. There's 8% survival rate. I think Forest were the only ones to book that, weren't they? So they're probably it is Forest, isn't it? It's the one survived. So and then obviously you've got in there, Bournemouth 8 points, and they were the one that survived. So there you go. The two outliers are Bournemouth and Forest in there. Obviously there's a big sample size there as well. So what I took the liberty of doing was having a look as well at the teams that right now, and I think this is quite encouraging for Leeds. So I decided to have a quick research and see, we've got 8 points after 6 games. Where have the teams who have got 8 points after 6 games finished at the end of the season? And are Leeds on course effectively? So here we go. So Reading, 2012-13, had 7 points early on, faded badly and finished 19th, relegated. That was in 2012-13. But since then, 2013-14, Hull took 8 points, and obviously I'm just specifically talking about 8 points here. 8 points in 6 games, ended up 16th. Watford, 8 points from 6, finished 13th. Brighton, 17-18, hit 8 points, finished 15th. Sheffield United, 19-20, 8 points at this stage. We know what a brilliant run they had. I think they finished 9th. So basically, a summary is teams with 8 points after 6 games almost always avoid relegation. Historically, they've finished anywhere from 9th to 16th with the exact points tally that we have now. It's a sign of a strong survival chance, even if not pushing for Europe, like Sunderland's 11 points from 6. So That's how I'm kind of looking at it at this moment in time, and I think it's important to contextualize that. I think it's important to make that absolutely clear that Leeds have had a good start so far. I don't think I would have ever thought that we'd have been able to accumulate the points that we have done. We've had some disappointments, but you can have disappointments in the Premier League. We can't just turn around and say we'll lose to Arsenal, City, Liverpool, everyone else, but and all these top teams, but then we're going to pick up points against every other team. It's just not going to happen. The Premier League's too cruel. You're going to get a Fulham. You're going to get many more Fulhams. You know what I mean? You're going to get maybe a 1-0 undeserved loss to Brighton, but then we might go to Forest like Sunderland did and beat Forest. You know, that might happen. But I think the stage that we're at right now is important. You know, it's important where we are. So enter Leeds United. Well, Sam, the rhetoric back to it a lot of the time is I think we broke a record for getting 7 points after 3 games and going down. But what I would say about that is the 7 points after 3 games, it's not a big enough sample size. You know, it's not a big enough sample size whatsoever for me. This is a sample size that we can look at. Statistics mean nothing for Leeds. We always do crazy stuff. Fair enough. Was also a stat on Match Today saying that every year this many points have been collected by the promoting teams at this stage. 2 teams have stayed up. Yeah. Yeah. So, look, I think there's ways of looking at this. There's ways of looking at this that we might feel a little bit more encouraged. I think anyway. I think I'm now looking at Tottenham. Hi, Dilip. I'm looking at Tottenham and I'm really encouraged now. I'm looking at Tottenham and I'm thinking, I think we could beat Tottenham. I do. I think they've shown weaknesses this season. I think there's a certain style of play that could really affect them with Leeds United. So I think there's a real opportunity for us there. Real opportunity for us there. But what I would say is, I think my only concern with this whole thing is, and people were buzzing about Man United losing at the weekend, and obviously you guys know that I live on the dark side. Um, I wasn't that buzzing about that result, and I'm look, anybody can beat that Man United team, blah blah blah. I know that. Um, I'm not looking at that really. I'm not looking at that. I'm thinking Brentford have won a game, not ideal. Villa have won this weekend. I didn't think Villa were going to go down whatsoever, but Villa have won this weekend. West Ham have got Everton tonight. I've just brought Nuno in. Wolves, I thought, were very good against Spurs at the weekend and were unlucky. I was stunned. Spurs got back into that game. I thought Wolves were fully deserved winners. And obviously, Wolves won midweek as well against Everton in the Cup. So I think what I'm looking at right now is, if Leeds are on course for survival, who is going to finish below us? Because this feels like a season, in my opinion, where it's going to be a very, very high points tally staying up. Very high. I think it's going to be a lot higher than people think, because I think people are sleeping on Burnley. I think Burnley will do better than people think. I think the 2 winnable games Burnley have had are the beat Sunderland and they got a draw against Forest. The rest of them have just been horror games of which you're not going to win. And they pushed Man United and Liverpool very close. I think Burnley have improved drastically from when they were in the Premier League last time. No matter what anybody says and how upset people get, I put a Twitter post out saying Sunderland are a problem. Sunderland are a massive problem. They're a massive problem. Literally got 11 points after 6 games. You can be upset about that all you want. And people do get really upset about that. But I think that's because there's almost like a vulnerability, and Sunderland are a problem. They're a massive problem. We're only 3 points behind them, but they're a big problem. Every time I've watched them, they impress me. I think on transition, they're exceptionally quick. I think defensively, they're solid, and they're difficult to beat. I think the keeper's exceptional as well. Roofs is very, very good. They've got decent subs coming onto the pitch. They've got a choice of 3 strikers. Yeah, Sunderland look good, I think. And this whole AFCON thing, we'll wait and see, obviously. But I think they can probably afford to have maybe 3 or 4 games off if they manage to get a certain points tally with their next however many games. They've got good games coming up. They've got Man United away, which I'm looking at that and I'm thinking Sunderland could get something there. And that's probably hammer him out. They've got Everton at home. They've got Wolves at home. These are all in the next like 5 games. So I'm looking at Sunderland. I'm not saying they're going to, fly away here, but they are completely on track to get in. I mean, the only team, the team as of right now, after 6 games, the only team to have got 11 points are West Ham back in 2012, 2013, and they finished 10th. So we've got to see Sunderland as a problem. They are a problem. So I don't think Sunderland are going down. I've said that multiple times. So you've kind of got to look now, in my opinion, at teams that are going to finish below Leeds United. I do think Burnley will go down, but I think they will be difficult. I think Burnley will pick up points, but they're going to be. I think they've got a lack of firepower. I don't think you can just rely on Jadon Anthony throughout the entire season. But I think they'll do okay at home, as we've seen so far this season. I think, but I don't know who else. Maybe Brentford. Maybe. But I still look at the depth there coming off the bench. I think Thiago and Shard. I think Shard's a really good player up top. Thiago could mould a little bit into maybe a little bit of an Ivan Toney. Who knows? Might do, might not. They have only played Man United and got that result, but still, we'd all be jumping we'd be bouncing on the ceiling, wouldn't we, if we'd have got that result against Man United? So yeah, it's just about who's going to finish below us now. Maybe West Ham. Maybe it doesn't go well with Nuno, hopefully. I just think Nuno's a specialist in these areas and they have got a good team, got a good spine. So who knows? Who knows? What do you guys think? Do you know if Perry will be ready for Spurs? Didn't sound like it, did it, JJ? Didn't sound like it. Ian Brown says would be great if the Premier if we both stayed up. Yeah, it would. It'd be unbelievable. It'd be unbelievable. And I think the combined points tally now with 23 of all of us. I think the combined points tally. I think they said it on Match of the Day, didn't they? Of all the clubs in and around the relegation zone, the promoted clubs actually was 8 points. 8 points. And as a collective, we're all on 23. And I think they were saying on Match of the Day that always, if you get 23 points and above, 2 of those teams will stay up. 2 of those teams will stay up statistically by getting that point average and above with the combined tally of the teams. Dilip says, Conor, I got a gut feeling we're going to beat Spurs. You have got a weird feeling about Spurs. I said this consistently. I said, Bournemouth's the one I'm worrying about. Spurs is the one I think we can get something. I could be completely wrong there, but Leeds have a squad capable of staying in the Premier League based on how they recruited this summer. Stack, Longstaff, DCL, Goodmanson, Okafor, Perry, all good signing for what they need now. Cheers, mate. Hopefully you're right. Such a shame Sheffield United lost the... It would, mate. Yeah, you are bang on right. 100%. We needed Sheffield United up because they'd have been rock bottom. You've seen with how dreadful their ownership has been over this summer period that would have continued in the Premier League, 100%. Still worry for West Ham. I don't worry for them, mate. I hope they go down. I think Forest will go. Really? I think Forest will go down. I think they're just too good. I think Forest are too good. They've got too many options, I think. Lee says, I do think Sunderland have played the right teams at the right time. Yeah, maybe. You think Forest and Fulham may be in danger, Connor? Nah, mate. I just think they're too good. I think they're too good. I do think what I will say with Sunderland is I think they look strong, but I think they have got tougher games coming. You know, I think we have had the toughest games. I think us and Burnley have definitely had the toughest games. So that will be the litmus test, won't it? I think Palace was obviously a tough game for Sunderland, but what I will say is Ishmael Sarr and Adam Wharton weren't playing, which, look, I know Sunderland players wouldn't have been playing, but they are massive, massive players for Palace. But it doesn't matter. They still got a point at Palace. It's an unbelievable result. Aside from that, Forest, yeah, but Forest haven't won yet under Ange, have they? And Ange is really struggling at this moment in time. Could it have been a perfect time to play them? I think the litmus test with Sunderland is going to come with your Man United's away. They've got Chelsea away coming as well, haven't they, in the next few games? I think Brighton's coming up as well, but I'm not sure. They're going to be the real tests. And then obviously 3rd of December onwards for Sunderland, they've got a lot of tough games. I think Man City, I think Liverpool are in there as well. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But guys, I am going to leave it there. Slap a like on the video. I need to go lie down after my concussion. Shouldn't really be doing this, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank